This session is thinking about the value of being able to take different perspectives on situations. It's called perceptual positions. And by the end of this session, you'll be able to explain the perceptual positions, analyse the uses of perceptual positions in modelling and coaching, and use perceptual positions as part of the coaching process. In order to model excellence or to help others reach excellence, you'll want to understand what perspective someone is coming from. Because if you're wanting to achieve the same results as them, then you'll want to take on the same perspective. And to understand a situation completely, it's often useful to look at it from very different perspectives. And also, perceptual positions is a powerful technique that you can use to help you do that. So what are some of the uses of perceptual positions? Why would you want to think about them? Well, examples of where perceptual positions can be used are, firstly, to discover which perspective a person is using in order to do something excellently when modelling. When you're modelling out how someone does something, they will have a perspective that they're taking when carrying out the tasks. Or they may have a sequence of perspectives. So, for example, when I'm planning training sessions, and in particular when I'm creating new exercises or games to do, I imagine how it will be from the perspective of my clients when they're doing the exercise. Now, if you wanted to model that skill, it would be very important to know that's what I do. Another use is to help someone who wants to improve a relationship. Where someone is having a problem because a relationship is not working as well as they may like, then perceptual positions is a helpful way of looking at the relationship from lots of different perspectives and using that learning to help the person find new ways of moving forward. These are situations where someone may say to you something like, "I just can't get on with them," or "Whenever he says something, I get this awful feeling inside." Another use is to help someone resolve a conflict. I've used perceptual positions on many occasions to help people who are in the middle of conflict. For example, where one person has been accused of bullying another, and there's a conflict about that. Using perceptual positions can help both parties think about what is going on, how they would like to move forward, and what action each individual is going to take. Another use is to help someone plan and prepare for a meeting or discussion they're going to have. And also, if you want to help someone plan and prepare for a negotiation. In both of these situations, when you're planning and preparing, it can be enlightening to look at the meeting, discussion or negotiation from the perspectives of everyone involved. It can help to preempt problems and decide the best tactics to get a win-win from the situation. One thing that it is important to understand if you're using perceptual positions is the difference between being associated and disassociated. When someone is associated, then they are connected with it and immersed in it. They feel fully the feelings, and when they talk about it, they will go back to the feelings that they had at the time as if it were happening now. So last week I finished running a 9-day coaching program for a wonderful group of people in Worcestershire. And they all qualified and were delighted with it, and not only with what they had learnt in terms of coaching, but also with their own personal development. And as I think back to that last day and the end of the program, I can feel how great it felt being with those people, and I can feel the excitement there was in the air as I think about it now. That is being associated. I was associated into the feelings at the time, and as I think about the experience, I'm associated into the feelings now. And when you're associated, if you get an image, you tend to see the picture as being through your own eyes. You don't see yourself in the picture, you see what is happening outside of you. Disassociated, on the other hand, is like when we take a big step back from a situation and we detach from it and disconnect from it. It's like we're taking a detached observer's view of the situation. So we are disassociating from our internal experiences. It could be that we're perceiving a situation from a rational and logical point of view without having our feelings involved. So when I'm planning my day, I'm detached from the feelings in each of the experiences and taking a step back and looking at all the things I want to do and deciding which I will do in which order. When you're modelling someone, it's something that's worth noticing. At the various stages of their strategy for achieving their results, are they associated into the feelings in order to achieve the results they do? Or are they dissociated from their feelings in order to achieve the results? It will often have a significant impact on those results. So, for example, I did some work with traffic police, and when we were talking about situations where they had to go to traffic accidents, and handle those, it was really important for them, in order to do that well, to be disassociated so that they could take the big picture view and do what was needed in order of priority. When you're coaching someone, often their problem can be structured because of whether they are disassociated or associated. For example, as you may well find from perceptual positions, a problem may be caused because someone is too associated into their own view of the situation, that they're not taking into account how another person is feeling. Or sometimes a problem is caused with the opposite, where someone is too associated into how someone else feels and they don't look after themselves and their own feelings. And an example of this can be as a coach. And sometimes people who are coaching get so associated into their client's problems and feelings that they end up not being able to help the client because they are then in the same unresourceful state as the client. Association or disassociation is an important aspect of the 3 perceptual positions, as you'll find out in a minute. So briefly, there are 3 perceptual positions. The first one being your own model of the world, your own view of the situation. This position is key to personal mastery, to understanding yourself, to understanding what's going on inside you. The second position is understanding the situation from the other person's model of the world or point of view. And this position is key to being empathetic with someone else, or being able to get into rapport with someone. And the third position is a disassociated view, seeing the situation as an independent observer. And this position is key to reasoning and logic and learning. So let's look a little more in detail into first position. When someone is fully associated into their own perspective of the situation, they're not taking in the other person's perspective or an objective perspective into account. They are fully associated into an emotional response about themselves, and they are immersed in their own feelings. This is important at times so that you can understand what impact something is having on you and whether you need to take action or not. And it's also important so that you can experience and fully enjoy the good times in your life. However, in any situation, too much first position may mean that the person is responding in a self-centered way and not considering other people or the overview. And in any situation, too little first position may mean that the person has no consideration for their own needs. And what about second position? Well, when someone is fully associated into the other person's perspective of the situation, they're not taking their own perspective or an objective perspective into account. They are fully associated into an emotional response they think the other person is feeling. And this is very useful at times, as I've already said, so that you can empathise with someone else and so you can create rapport, so that you can consider other people with whom you relate. However, too much second position may mean that the person is too dependent on the other person, or always thinking about the other person's needs rather than their own. And too little second position may mean that the person has little compassion because they're not able to put themselves in the other person's shoes. And lastly, we have third position. When someone has disassociated themselves from feelings in a situation, they have taken a step back and become more objective. They are taking a big picture, disassociated perspective of the situation. And this can be very useful in many situations. For example, when you're making strategic decisions about the future of an organisation or a team. Often this position is helpful in learning as well. When you're too immersed in an emotional state, it can be less than easy to be able to take an overall view and learn from the situation so you can move forward. You only have to look at someone who gets very, very angry to understand this. They can only learn and move forward once they've got themselves out of the angry state. However, in any situation, too much third position may mean that the person is not considering feelings and has depersonalized the situation. And too little may mean that the person has no objectivity. As you can imagine, the ability to shift between the three perceptual positions does allow you to get the most learning and understanding, and so find more win-win ways to progress. There is an NLP technique based on perceptual positions that's very helpful in any areas that clients might bring to you that are to do with relationships. So you will want to start off with the GROW model and asking about what goal it is they want and asking them what they want to achieve. And then go on to the reality bit where you'll want to find out what's been happening. And when it comes to the options bit then, when you've discovered all that's been happening up to now and you want to start to progress to move forward, you'll want to ask the client to choose places in the room for each of the three perspectives. So you'll want them to choose a place where they're going to look at the situation from the first perspective, that's their own point of view. Choose a place in the room where they're going to look at it from second position, so that's the other person's point of view, and choose a place which would be, for them, detached enough that they could look at it from third position. And then you ask the client to stand in first position and describe the problem from his or her perspective. And make sure that they stay fully associated into their own perspective. And you as the coach will want to ask powerful questions as they're appropriate to help the client fully explore what's happening from this position. When they've explored first position, then you want to ask the client to stand in second position and imagine the situation from the other person's point of view. Ask them to be fully associated as the other person, to stand and talk like them, and to put themselves fully into the other person's shoes, and then to describe the situation from that perspective. Make sure that the person stays fully associated with second position. One way of being able to do that is to ask them to assume they are the other person when they're talking. So let's say I'm doing perceptual positions about my relationship with Mary. Then when I am in second position, and then I'll be saying things like, well, Jane keeps telling me what to do, and then I get really annoyed because I want to get on my own. So I am telling the story as if I were Mary. And as the coach, you'll want to ask powerful questions as appropriate to help the client explore this position and what the situation is like from this perspective, and to make sure they stay associated into second position. When they've explored second position, ask the client to stand in third position and to take a big step back and distance themselves, and to consider the situation from a detached viewpoint, thinking about what is happening in the relationship between the two people. Ask them to describe what's happening between the two people and what is the learning. As coach, you'll want to make sure that they remain detached. And so in order to help you do this, you can say, if we go back to me and Mary, you could say, if you were coaching me, you would say, so tell me what's happening there between Jane and Mary. And if you find them going back into first or second position and getting associated in the feelings, remind them to take a big step back from the situation, look at it from a long way away, and sometimes it works well to literally get them to step further away from the other two positions. Then once they have got the learning from the third position, you can ask the client to go back to first position and to take with him or her all the learnings from the three positions. Ask what they are going to be doing differently and what options they are going to choose as a result of their learnings. And if they want to, they can repeat these positions again until they are happy that they have a way forward. Here is an exercise for you to do to discover more about perceptual positions. Find a partner to work with and help them move forward with a problem they have with a specific relationship by using the perceptual positions technique. What did you learn and discover from doing the process? What would you do differently next time?